Thomas Müller, Raumdeuter, Space Interpreter. This is farewell. Danke für alles. Welcome to the Always Bayern Chelsea show, everybody. My name is Danny, and today this is a very, very special video episode, so go ahead, check it out on YouTube. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Always Bayern Chelsea. And this is my farewell letter to the FC Bayern legend, the footballing legend, Thomas Müller. And I feel like he deserves his own video. He deserves his own episode of the program. So I'm going to, come on here and just talk a little bit about his career and just essentially give him a thank you note, all wrapped up, hopefully tied together neatly and presented in this video with a bow on top of a phenomenal career. And of course, there's really nothing I can say about the guy that hasn't already been said. Truly, truly a legend of the game, of the sport of football, and he should be remembered as such. So I thought I'd start this one off just because I was thinking about a quote. I believe it was the great Bill Graham, concert promoter and just really inventor of rock and roll music in the United States, who said this quote about the Grateful Dead, and it's also the way that I think of Thomas Müller. And the quote is, "They're not the best at what they do, they're the only ones who do what they do." And that is exactly how I think Thomas Müller played the game of football. I think that can really sum up who he is as a man and as a footballer. So Thomas Müller was not the best at what he did, but he was the only one who did what he did. And there will never, ever be another player like Thomas Müller in the history of the sport of football. Yeah, he really had no clear position. Was he a 10? Was he a forward? Was he a wing? He was kind of all of these things. So again, no necessarily specific position you could really box him into, but he had an extremely high footballing IQ, really. Just one of the smartest players to ever play the game, I would argue. Not the fastest, not the strongest, not the best dribbler, not the best striker, I guess, not the most technically gifted player in any one area, but he could see the pitch like no other, and that's why Thomas Müller was so special. Debuting for Bayern Munich in 2008 and ending his career with Bayern Munich now after the conclusion of the Club World Cup in 2025. And in that career, he won everything. A total of 34 trophies, which makes him the most decorated German footballer of all time, tying him with Toni Kroos at that 34 number. So let's run down some of his stats, because they're almost mind-blowing how impressive his stats are throughout his career. Again, starting with those trophies, 34 trophies, absolutely insane. 13 Bundesliga trophies, 2-time Champions League champion, 6 times DFB Pokal, 8-time German Super Cup, 2-time FIFA Club World Cup champion, 2-time UEFA Super Cup champion, and of course the 2014 World Cup win with Germany. The 2010 World Cup, Müller was the top goal scorer, had 5 goals and 3 assists in that tournament, and he was also the top goal scorer of the Pokal in 2010 and 2014. That's the German Cup, if you don't know. 292 goals in his career and 281 assists, the most assists ever at Bayern Munich. So really, really just an impressive career through and through by the numbers. And, obviously, like, these are mind-boggling numbers, but what makes Müller so special and what made him such a key player was just how he was the offensive brain. He was the puppet master pulling the strings, really behind some of the most dominant teams of all time. I mean, we're talking about the famous 7-1 Germany victory over Brazil in the 2014 World Cup. That will forever be one of the craziest, one of the most dominant showings in all of football history. You could also say that about Bayern Munich beating Barcelona. Yeah, Messi's Barcelona 8-2 in the 2019-2020 Champions League quarterfinal. Müller had 2 goals and 1 assist in that one. He also scored Bayern's only goal in that infamous 2012 UCL final loss to Chelsea in Munich. He scored Bayern's only goal in that one. And then In the 2012 to 2013 treble-winning season, Müller had 23 goals and 17 assists for Bayern Munich, and also in the 2019-2020 sextuple winning season, 6 trophies. That's 6 trophies that Hansi Flick and Bayern Munich won in that season. Absolutely incredible. That should be talked about more in the overall footballing discourse. I don't know how the hell it's not, but Müller had 14 goals and a whopping 26 assists in that season. I mean, that's absolutely insane. He had 21 assists in the Bundesliga that year, and that's the most in history. Most assists in the history of a Bundesliga season. So how did he do it? Overall, he just knew where to be and when to be there. I said it in the intro, but the Raumdeuter, his nickname, the space interpreter, that's first of all like the most badass nickname ever if you ask me, but really it sums him up. He was basically playing 4D chess where everybody else was essentially playing checkers at times. That's how good Müller was, and he just deserves to be recognized for it and respected for it. He would have perfect runs. He would, again, make passes that nobody else could make, essentially inventing plays out of thin air, really like a magician. And again, with that space interpretation, that's what makes him so magic, and it is also what makes him so underrated is the off-ball interpretation, the things that he did off the ball, the way that he saw the game progress. Again, it's easy to see and recognize when you see somebody doing a fancy trick or dribbling past somebody and this, that, and the other, but Müller really was able to see things from a higher level, essentially seeing what defenders could not and basically appearing in space that nobody even knew existed. He was the man pulling the strings. He was the orchestrator. He was the band leader. He was the puppet master. And I think a great example of this is in those COVID matches when there were no fans in the stadium. Just go watch some of those matches or just watch some of those highlights and just listen, because there's no noise in the stadium except for Thomas Müller directing traffic. It's absolutely incredible watching those matches. You can hear him telling players where to be and when, and you can see these plays unfold that he's basically masterminding. And it's just a super fun way to watch a match and to figure out the process behind Thomas Müller. And the other way that he did this, that he had such a crazy career, was overall just being unselfish. And, in the day of the modern day and age where it's all about star power, all about personal brands and whatnot, Müller was almost the antithesis of that in a lot of ways. He was humble, kept to himself, obviously a jokester, obviously just a great attitude all the time, took responsibility, also took things seriously when he needed to, but was just overall unselfish. I mean, he succeeded under multiple different managers with crazy different play styles. Obviously, Pep, Ancelotti, Jupp Heynckes, Hansi Flick, Nagelsmann, Tuchel, company, all these guys. Müller was there, and some of them didn't know how to use him, quite frankly, and some of them benched him, and he didn't make a stink about it. He instead just essentially worked his way back into the lineup, and all of these guys who benched him came back to him on their hands and their knees because they realized that they needed a guy like Thomas Müller in the team. And obviously when Robert Lewandowski arrived, Müller completely flipped his style, becoming the assist legend, completely changing his style for the betterment of the team. There were times in his career where he turned down Manchester United, where he turned down Real Madrid, because Bayern was in his blood, and he was always a Bayern man through and through, a Munich boy through and through. There's those famous pictures from when he was a kid with the Bayern bed sheets, and really, just stayed loyal despite poor treatment at times, and that is so rare in today's day and age in this game. So that's where I think I'll wrap things up, because while Müller was a legend on the pitch, he was also a good man, and he was also a legend off the pitch, and most importantly, he changed the way that we view football as a whole, and players like him are once in a generation and once in a lifetime, and you're just never going to see another guy like Thomas Müller. So once again, farewell, Thomas. Danke für alles.